One of the most important questions that I want to deal with on today's episode of the GJK Podcast is a question that I often receive in most of the masterclasses that we host all around the country. It's a question of people that are asking themselves whether or not they should start a company or a non-profit making organization. So you might be there and you're watching this podcast and you're asking yourself the same question of, what is the best thing for me to run? And I know that this question often comes from people that, you have this grand passion for communities, you love people, and you feel like you've been born and you are called to make a difference in the lives of people. And oftentimes when we come up with a plan of what can be done for communities, we often think that the best way to do is to run a nonprofit that can be able to take care of all of these people. And I often will tell people that the truth in this is that you are part of the 1% of the people in the world that sit and pause for a minute and actually think about somebody else. It's something that we always have to celebrate, because as capitalistic world keeps on going on and growing every single day, people are becoming more about themselves and less about the people and the environments that they exist in. So when we still have people like you that can look at young people in the schools, that you can look at the elderly people in different parts of the villages, when you can think about the people in the destitute platforms, you are part of the 1% of the people that I believe that God is smiling on them every single day. Now, however, the reason I talk about this on this podcast is because for the longest time, I've seen a lot of organizations fail. And they fail because of a variety of reasons, but the most common reason is the reason that I want to share with you today. I ran an organization that I founded in 2012, and the preparation for this NGO started back in 2011 when I was starting my journey in university. So, as like most of you maybe, you find yourself with this enormous passion. You want to do something for the community. And I don't know if you're like me, but at the time I had no idea the best way to incorporate what I wanted to do. So when I opened my eyes, around me were people that, they were running non-profit organizations, and many people running organizations, associations, and this and all of that. And I thought the best thing to do for me is to also form an organization. Now, my organization was to, get into schools and provide a platform where volunteers could actually volunteer their time to tutor the students and to mentor them in helping them to prepare for the final examination. Something that we've done incredibly well, that we are helping over 19,000 students every single year all around the country with over 120 volunteers in our platform. So, and we have helped a lot of students to get to universities. We've helped a lot of schools to actually improve on their performance. We've helped a lot of management in terms of education management at ministry level, at many other different levels, to improve the behavior of students in the schools and all of that. It's been a great work, and we've been receiving a lot of awards over the years for the same amount of work. But the question also boils down to then what happens to the people that are running these organizations. It was fun and easy to do because you are a university student. You're still earning an allowance. You are earning an allowance from government. There's a little bit of stipend here and there that can help you to move on with your life. But the moment you graduate from university and life begins to ask you questions of how do you sustain yourself, and the only thing that you have is an NGO, that's when the reality of what I'm talking about is going to come into this place. Now, here's what I want to say, and it's the truth. In 2011, when I started, there were many other projects that started around the same time. These projects understood the power of collaborating with bigger organizations. The likes of UNICEF, the likes of as big as you can imagine, and they were able to access funding into these platforms. This was something that I was not really passionate about, because for me, my background has taught me how to get things done even without the funding. When you see varieties of our teams all around the country doing all of this work, you might think this is a properly funded organization that is able to do this. But my mind over the years has lent the ability to say, if I had to do this, what is the easiest way to do that? So I moved my organization from becoming more a funding-oriented organization into a resource-based organization. And this was coming from realizing that Botswana was flushed with so many resources, cars and available hostels and many other things that our passionate entrepreneurs only needed to do that. That was running nice and smooth. But the moment we graduate out of university, others need to get their jobs, others need to get their lives in order and all of that. And this is where a lot of other organizations, they collapse in the same space. Now, I'm saying this because I thought about it over and over again. I've seen, guys that were as passionate about education and seeing students, grow and students develop and students, realize their potential and actually perform better at school. But they were coming from a different school of thought. And these are people that are asking themselves the question of what is the best way to bring this solution into the market. They were told, start a business. And for me, starting a business was being more selfish about the thing. Because for me, I think, as I say, it is a mindset thing that I had. I felt if you are truly helping communities, then you must give them what you are doing for free. Somebody asked me the question of, so this phone you were using, do you feel like whoever invented it was helping you? And the truth is, yes, it felt like it, but the truth is, I paid for the same service. We took me on a tour, virtually, and we visited many organizations, even in the US. The volunteers in those places that are even earning some kind of a stipend. It's a sustainable model that is able to create a win-win-win situation. On one of the podcasts, we were talking about shared value. I was saying then when we create collaborations with organizations that are also passionate about the driving impact in the communities that we want to also help, what is the best way in which they are able to help me live the life that I want better than I would live if they were not being able to help me. So this guy is coming from a school of thought of saying, just because I'm a business does not mean that I don't care about my communities. Just because someone is paying for a service that I'm offering does not mean that I'm not, passionate about helping them grow. Because to build something sustainable, you need to build a value and at a certain price point that is able to help those people. So he taught me this because in those conversations with those organizations in the US, they were saying nonprofits are things, projects and platforms that people own because they are giving back to the community. So he asked me a simple question. If you were saying you are giving back to the community, what exactly have you taken from the community that you are giving back? This is your first project. You've never done anything. You've never made money. You've never really amassed anything from the community. So how is it that you are thinking you are giving back to the Somi community something you never took? I never looked at it that way. And I sat there and I realized that there were people that are along the same path, passionate about education like I was, started the businesses in tutoring platforms. And these businesses grew, the brand, some of them right now are doing so well. Most of them are my friends. In fact, all of them are my friends. They've got branches in South Africa, which I don't. They've been able to live off of these businesses and even employed more people whose lives are getting better, which I didn't. They're able to even provide for themselves, their families, and their employees are able to provide for themselves and their families. But guess what? The numbers of students they've also held, it is staggering. So it's a machine, it grows like that. So if you were to ask me this question today, 14 years later, and ask me the question of saying, I want to get into this and fulfill my passion for my community, should I start a business or should I start an organization or a non-profit organization? My answer is very clear. Start the business. Start the business because in the business path, there's a lot of things that you have control over that you can use to sustain both the project, yourself, but it's going to give you enough money to be able to do your charitable projects that you say you want to do. If you don't do this, you are going to be at the mercy of whoever is able to give you the finances and the resources that you need to keep doing the things that you say you want to do. You are going to continually be dependent on funding. You are going to be continually dependent on things. The other things, if you are not, a fan of either a non-profit or even a for-profit companies, There are enterprise, incorporation platforms such as running a social enterprise. So you need to research more and learn about how does social enterprises run. But by all means, don't fall into the trap of starting a non-profit, not understanding how they work. There's a lot of rules around governing non-profits. For example, I started the non-profit, but I don't own the non-profit. The only thing I have is bragging rights that can say I am the founder of this organization. But whoever comes in after me, and there's been a lot of them, and there's always going to be others, and it's a joy of my heart to seeing more people coming in to bring in their expertise and their passion and growing the project going forward. You can't have an influence on how it goes unless the team that you are working with, they value your contribution and your opinion in how the things run. But I've seen the worst case scenarios in other situations where the founder, when you leave and there's other people that comes in, they run the way they want. Sometimes most of them, they have run all of these amazing initiatives off the cliff. And this is what I'm saying to you. Think about it. Maybe you need to face this thing in your mind that is making you feel that if people were to pay you to solve their problems, it feels wrong. And I know this because I also have had to face, platforms where there are deep senses of insecurity and some forms of unworthiness. And me choosing not to be paid for the service was not truly because I'm passionate about the business, about the people only. Was also because I never gave myself the time to realize that I'm also worthy of the same help that I want to give the people. I was far more happier, seeing people progress. And I will lift a lot of people's lives when mine is going the opposite direction. And I'd like to leave you with this thought that there are two types of people in this world. There are the people that are on top of the cliff, who are pulling others on top to the top of the cliff, and there are those that are at the bottom of the mountain who are pushing people on top of that mountain. It may fulfill you. Think about it scientifically. You are here at this point. Somebody comes and you see the potential in them. You use your energy and you use your strength to push them on top. Once you are done, they are on top, but you are still here. Once you are done with this one, the next one is also here. You will spend years and pushing people in, and you can even say it in some of your speeches and telling people and saying, you see, all of these people were built by me. You might want to own it and say, maybe this was the purpose of my life, but God does not take pleasure in giving you something that will bless everyone except you. And I say to you, when you start your business, you are literally climbing that mountain. And because you are on top of there, everyone else who's done there, first and foremost, mindset-wise, they're able to see that it's possible for you to climb this mountain. And when you extend your hand, ask the people that are in science and physics, it is easier to actually pull someone to the top of the mountain than to actually push another person on top of the mountain. So it is easier because you are able to do that. And when you are there, you have enough strength to climb another mountain. And that's exactly what Nelson Mandela said, that when I climbed the mountain, I realized that there were many more mountains to be climbed. This is why a lot of people have been stuck in the first things they started doing when they started, because they are at the bottom of the mountain. They push everyone up there, but they don't know what is up there. Come up hither. That's what I challenge you to, because your life is far more valuable and there's a lot that you can do. You change the lives with this, but there's more that you can do once you get to the top of the mountain. I hope this week's episode of the GJK Podcast was able to shed some light on you, and I wish you all the best. And I want to keep imploring you, keep your heart like that, pure and passionate about the people of God. But do me a favor, take care of you as well.
Goitsemang, Khutsafalo, a refreshing breath of fresh thinking.